The live action adaptation of How to Train Your Dragon opens in Malaysia on Thursday the 12th, but Bahir and I got to see it a little early, and surprise, surprise, it's actually really good. God knows there is a stigma attached to anything that is a live action adaptation, because the question arises, why? Why do it? Why ruin something so perfect, so beautiful, so amazing? And you know what? They always want to adapt the perfect, beautiful, amazing things. Nobody wants to do a live action adaptation of the shit things, right? They're just hoping to make more money from this thing. And let me tell you, DreamWorks hit gold with this one, because I totally approve of them making more money off of this. It is actually very good. And for me, I think it's because they've managed not just to capture the tone and spirit. So unlike Lilo and Stitch, where they made some pretty significant changes to the story and the characters, How to Train Your Dragon is almost a scene-for-scene adaptation. It is almost exact. There's a little bit extra here and there, but for the most part, it is almost exact. However, they've somehow made it feel a little more epic.
It also feels a little more adult. Sorry, not adult. It just feels like it skews a little older than what I remember the original cartoon used to be.
Do you think it's because the actors are aged up? Like Hiccup in this one feels like Hiccup in number 2 or number 3. He feels slightly older, as does Astrid, as does all the characters. Which, can I just say, makes a little more sense when it comes to putting children through a trial of fire.
My issue with Mason Thames, who plays Hiccup, is less that he is an older Hiccup and more with the fact that he looks like an older Hiccup but is still written as a much younger Hiccup.
Right.
He looks like he's much older than he's supposed to play. So the character comes off as a little more whiny than I thought the cartoon characters were. And the characterization is almost similar. It's almost identical. But because he looks older, it almost feels like he's a whiny character as opposed to just being young. But other than that, everything else is nice. I really enjoyed it.
I really enjoyed this as well, and once again, I went into this with very low expectations. That said, everything you said aside, I think he's a really great Hiccup, though.
Yeah.
Beyond just looking the part, I think he carries it well. I think the balance of the wannabe hero, then reluctant hero, then suddenly rising to the occasion, hero's journey type chosen one thing, he does that very, very well. It's very, very believable, and it's very, very heartfelt, and it fits the story perfectly. Actually, everyone kind of works. I mean, Gerard Butler's reprising his role. Sure, he's just having a lot of fun, it seems. But also, Nico Parker as Astrid is fantastic. Like, all of them inhabit these parts really, really well. And I think the thing I loved most about this show was how well they created Burke and the environment and all of that stuff. It didn't feel cosplay. It felt very much like, and I don't know what it is. I think it might be more practical effects than CGI, but it felt very much like the fantasy stuff we watched growing up. Like if you watch Dragonheart, it feels like they shot in a fucking castle, which they did. It wasn't just a green screen with a CGI castle. So everything feels kind of lived in, and the outfits feel a bit gritty and not cosplay and clean, and the world feels inhabited, and I really, really like that.
The thing they did well was they shot a lot of that on location, right? I don't know how much of the village itself is on location. Probably not very much, but they shot a lot in the hills, in the actual hills. So there's a lot of really well done outdoor sequences. I'm sure the interior scenes are all studio, and that's fine. But you're right. They leaned more towards practical on location stuff, which I really appreciate and really comes through in this film. The other thing I thought that they did very well were the dragons. For one thing, I'm glad they didn't even try to redesign Toothless, because whoever designed Toothless the first time got it right. So
nailed it. Yeah.
Nailed it completely. So why even bother? Like, they didn't try to do the first Sonic. They didn't try to sort of make Toothless more realistic and bring in like biologists to explain how these dinosaur physics. No, there's a fat dragon with little butterfly wings that flies. Accept it, it's okay. There's a dragon with two heads that shouldn't work, but it does. It's okay. Just leave it. They didn't touch that, which I love. And all of that looks good. There were some really great flying sequences as well in this one. And the way it was shot, I love that it was shot as if the director stuck a camera on a drone and sent it up to shoot the actor on a dragon riding around. I love that. I love the way this looks. I love the way this feels.
I think that was the cleverest thing that this movie did, which was they stuck to what works. Toothless looks the way he does, and everyone loved it. Don't go changing it because you're going to piss a lot of people off. The music was perfect. Don't go changing it because you're going to piss a lot of people off. And they kept the music. They kept the music. They kept the look of Burke. They kept Toothless. They kept the general overarching plot. And they kept those emotional anchors of the film. All of that is still there. In very much the same way Lilo and Stitch did. All of the emotional bits, despite the changes, were still there. So I found myself tearing up at the same bits in Lilo and Stitch. And it was the same with How to Train Your Dragon. I found myself getting emotional at the very same bits. It's very difficult to derive that same kind of attachment with a CGI character as you do in animation. I think because you've already suspended a certain amount of disbelief when you're watching animation, your emotional barriers are down. And so it's very easy to get attached to Mufasa before he dies, etc., etc. I think when there's live action in CGI, the writing has to do a lot of the heavy lifting. So going back to something like Dragonheart, for example, fuck me, that was emotional, right? And not just because Sean Connery's a dragon, but when you find out the fate of Dragonheart, you will tear up. And that's because the writing has done a lot of the heavy lifting. And here as well, the performances from the actors and the writing does a lot of the emotional lifting, and the CGI work. Because unlike, say, The Lion King or Mufasa, etc., the animals here don't talk. And I think that was a clever thing that they did even with the original. When they adapted the novels, they didn't make the dragons suddenly talk. I can see someone in a studio going, do we need to give them voices? Do we need to make them talk? But the cleverest thing about How to Train Your Dragon is that the dragons are like dogs. They kind of react and respond to their owners, in inverted commas, in the same way. And so all of that stuff that worked from the original is translated very well into this. This movie is slightly longer than the original, but I think the additional human drama that they've added kind of works. It isn't extreme. It doesn't change the characters in any way. It is just additional stuff that builds out the characters a little more.
Yeah.
And so for all of those reasons, I think this is a tremendous live action adaptation. Like, this is, yet again, how you should do it. Don't try to fix something that isn't broken.
Or don't try to update it. Don't try to modernize it. Don't try to redesign it for a, inverted commas, new audience, because you don't want a new audience, to be fair, right? You want the people who loved the Lilo and Stitch animation to come forward. You want the people who loved the original How to Train Your Dragon series to come forward.
But also just make a good movie, because then even the new audiences will just appreciate it for what it is.
Yes. Yeah.
I think that general idea of just trying to make it more epic and feel a little more cool worked.
Yeah, it was enough. I will say, I was one of those naysayers because I thought the original was fantastic. I thought the animated film from 2010 was fucking pitch perfect, fantastic. And when they announced that they were making a live action adaptation or live action remake, I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Just make more. Make a fourth How to Train Your Dragon. Make a fifth. I don't care. Right? Jay Baruchel's not doing anything. He's gotten older. You can age up the character. But if they were to do it, and they did, I love that this is where they went with it. I love that this is what has come up. I now cannot wait for 2 and 3.
I really hope they bring back Cate Blanchett for 2.
Yeah. That would
You've
be
got
great.
Gerard Butler. Just bring back Kate Blanchett. That would be great.
That would be great. That would be so great. Yeah, you're right.
I don't think she'd be averse to it. She fucking did Borderlands.
Borderlands probably gave her more money though.
Then again, if the reception to this movie is as good as it should be and what it deserves, then I think that sequel will be coming a lot quicker. If this thing makes Paramount a lot of money, I think they're going to greenlight that sequel. Actually, I'm sure they've already greenlit the sequel, but I think they'll start doing number 2 and 3 very, very quickly.
Also because you kind of want to. You don't want to be in the Stranger Things position where...
Everyone's in their 40s?
Yeah, especially now that I've known that Mason Thames is only 17, which means it'll take them 2 years to make the next one. He'll be 19. Perfect, right? Just keep going. Just sign him up for 3 movies. Let's just keep going. Also, I know some of you thinking it, but don't you fucking dare wait for this on streaming. Watch it on the biggest screen you can. We didn't watch it on IMAX at the press preview, but good God, this looks great.
Yeah, I don't think the IMAX print was ready when we watched it, but I might go and watch it again on IMAX because those flight sequences, they looked fun.
They look great. Like, this is the closest I want to be to a roller coaster.
Also, not just the flight sequences, but they really nailed the mechanics of it all.
Yeah.
I loved all of that engineering stuff which they had in the cartoon, and the way they pulled it off in live action was very, very cool too.
Yeah.
So all of that was nailed. It is as close to perfect as you would want from a live action adaptation of an animated movie.
Yep.
Go watch How to Train Your Dragon. Take your kids when it comes out this Thursday. We promise you won't be disappointed. Let us know what you think once you have. You know how to reach out. Goggler MY we're on Instagram on Goggler MY. You can also email us on podcast@goggler.my or send us a WhatsApp to the Goggler hotline 012-524-5208. Thank you so much for listening. This is the Goggler Podcast.